Vieja, you heard me, Ropa Vieja, a traditional Cuban meal, but also cooked in my island of Puerto Rico. However, it was not originated in either country. In fact, it was originated as far back as 500 years ago, in the 16th century, maybe even before. But I won't tell you where it was originated right now. I will tell you later. Because first, I want you to remember, if I can cook it, so can you. So go nowhere. Let's create. Okay, I told you traditional meal from Cuba, Puerto Rico, where I'm from. We also cook it, but it originated in Spain. In fact, as far back as the 16th century, it was talked about. A version of it was mentioned by Cervantes, the great writer, in his book Don Quixote. A lot of you know Don Quixote. So it's been around for centuries. But my version, which combines some sort of Cuban, Puerto Rican, fare, is what I'm going to show you. And I got a flank steak. Now, you can use a brisket if you want to, but it has to be thin. And see how the grains are facing this way? This is about 1.25 pounds. If it doesn't fit in your cooking pot or whatever, you might want to cut it in half, with a knife. But the important thing is that you have this here. To condiment this, you're going to need a teaspoon of paprika, salt, a teaspoon of cumin, ground cumin, same with the ground black pepper teaspoon, and a teaspoon of coriander. And you might need about the same amount of oregano. Could be dry, could be fresh, doesn't matter. If this is not enough to cover the entire thing, then you add more. In addition to that, make sure you grate a tomato. I don't like to use tomato sauce. Actually, this is about 2 small ones. They're nice. I have a small tomato which I chop because I want to add some thickness. Bay leaf, a couple of them. I have a couple teeth of garlic which I'm going to mince, and I'm going to use that to condiment these too. About half an onion, small onion, chop. I have some cilantro, and I have culantro, which is the thicker leaf. If you don't, just stick with the cilantro only. I have a combination of red bell pepper and orange bell pepper. Combined, they add about 1 pepper, so it's half and half. I have some olive. You're going to need more cumin while you're cooking, and you're going to need some more paprika. Extra virgin olive oil, of course. And I almost forgot, optionally, you're going to need some capers. It might be a couple other ingredients that are very optional. That's up to you. And if I use them, I'm going to show you. And one of those ingredients is a decision you have to make. Is either water or stock, like beef stock or beef broth, or wine. Red wine would do. Now, this part you can do overnight, a couple hours before. The important thing is that when you're about to cook it, it's out of the refrigerator for at least half an hour. So I'm mixing the cumin that I'm going to be putting on top. And you do that for both sides. You're going to rub it in. Once again, flank steak work. You can do brisket. And the thing is, back in Spain, back in the day, people didn't have a lot to eat centuries ago. And what they did is, this used to be a leftover meat. They cook a flank steak from the cows. They probably did the same with the brisket, the stomach section of the bed, or the cow, I should say. And then what it did is, The next day after they eat the meat that they probably grill or whatever outdoors on the wooden stove, what they did is, as a leftover, they prepared this ropa vieja. And the technique is slightly different because now you're dealing with a food that's already cooked, so you don't have to do this part. In the future, I'm going to do ropa vieja with leftover meat to show you and duplicate how it was done 500 years ago. Means some garlic. And what you do is you grab it and you also rub here. So those flavors, you can use actual powdered garlic, but I like to go natural. And you do the same on the other side with a tip of garlic, okay? Do the same on the other side. And then once you do that, you put it in a container or a Ziploc bag, fold it up, put it aside for about a couple hours, or you can put it in the refrigerator overnight. Once again, once it's out of the refrigerator, let it get to room temperature about half hour. Centralize the flavor by folding it. You can tie it up with a rope or cord, but the important thing is that you want everything centralized. So what I have here is something, I have a podcast iron. This is similar to a Dutch oven, but it's French, so it's a collet, you know. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to add, now that my meat is been out of the refrigerator, some oil. I'm going extra virgin olive oil. You don't put a lot, just enough, you know, enough to cover some area. You don't want this swimming. And I'm going to put this steak, which fits here. And I'm going to kind of darken it on each side. I'm not cooking it, I just darken it. So it's going to take about maybe a couple minutes on one side, flip it, 2 minutes on the other side. Couple minutes later, flip it, look at this beauty, huh? And do the same. Once you're done, you're going to remove it and put it here, okay? So after you take it out, now it's a good time to imagine if this was a leftover flank steak or leftover brisket. You know, it was cooked a day ago, a couple days ago, and you're going to create la ropa vieja. Clearly, this is not a leftover, but this is how you can visualize it. So, using the same pot, you put, I have about half a cup of red wine. Be careful. And I'm going to use some broth. You can use water. And what you're going to do, you're going to add this steak. Because you want this baby softened. If you feel that you need more broth, just add a little bit more. And you let it soften. I'm going to add the onions now. And this is a high heat now because I want it to boil a little bit before I lower the heat, because it's going to be slow cooked. I like to add the culantro and cilantro, which you can do later, but I want to do it now. The chunks of tomatoes. And I'm going to add the tomato sauce. To mix things up a little bit. Once that this liquid start boiling, what you're going to do is I'm going to turn it down and I'm going to cover this baby, okay? It's about 25, 30 minutes later. Dry up a little bit. So what I do is I add a little bit more of that broth. Lower heat, of course. And continue cooking this baby. It's about another 10 minutes. What I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the flank steak and I'm going to let this baby rest so it cools down, okay? I'm going to let it cool down. Everything else I'm going to turn off. You don't want to break it like this. You want to go with the grain. You start breaking this baby out, see? See how I'm breaking it? Separating this baby with your hands. See? Let's go to the next step. Turn the heat to medium low. I think I have enough broth. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the shredded meat. I'm going to mix it out with the sauce. If you feel that it wasn't enough broth, add a little bit of about 1/4 cup perhaps. If you want it more saucy, that's up to you. Of stock or maybe water. So what you have this a medium low, a couple notches below medium. I'm going to add some of the steaks. And actually, you know what? Let me add about 1/2 cup of water. Due to the size. I'm going to add the olive. The little ones. I'm going to add a cup of bay leaf. Still have some paprika. This one is smoked. Just a few, tiny bit, you know, just a few, just a sprinkle. Darken that color with some paprika or pimenton. This is sweet pimenton, by the way. It's not the spicy one. It's nothing spicy here. I like to add, this is optional, a little bit of cumin, just a few shakes. Boop, boop, boop. That's it. I already tasted the broth for salt. It tastes good. You mix things up. And you want this to cook until the peppers are cooked. You don't want them crunchy. If you want to add a little bit more liquid, you don't want it swimming, but you don't want it dry. You know what I mean? So you can add a little bit more liquid depending on how long you're going to leave this here. But if you do that, you do that now. This is optional. I have some saffron. I already gave it the Cuban touch and some of the Puerto Rican touch. Let's remember the Spaniards. They created this stuff. Let's add a little bit of saffron, which I crunch. Just a little bit. I'm going to put it throughout the thing. You know what I mean? So, about 10, maybe 12 minutes later, look at this beauty. This smells delicious, by the way. And I also cook, by the way, some sweet plantains and some white rice. If you want to enjoy more of a Cuban tradition, cook some black beans to complement this If you want to go Puerto Rican, go with the red beans, or red kidney beans. But if you go Spain, Spaniard type, some garbanzos or chickpeas